Everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening for our second installation in our Back to Business Fall series presented by the Broward County Black Chamber of Commerce. I'm extremely happy that you could join us tonight, and you all are in for a treat. As you may or may not know, my name is Shahira Jarrett Gillen. I'm the founder and president of the Broward County Black Chamber of Commerce. And as the kids were put on those school buses and sent back to school, we know that as small business owners, we had a lot to get back to, right? We had kids at home, a lot we were juggling through the pandemic. And now it's time that they're back in school for us to get back to business. And with this fall series, I wanted the chamber to kind of focus on topics that sometimes we just don't get to. We don't think about. We may know they're important, but we don't quite know how to approach them. And so I wanted this series to talk about the things that I think sometimes as small business owners, we kind of push under the rug. So no more pushing under the rug. We're going to talk about these topics, and I want you to be informed. And so tonight we're going to talk with a very special guest, Stephanie Fortune. And she's going to talk to us about key PEO, HR, and other considerations for your business. These are foundational concepts that all small business owners should be thinking about, and not just thinking about, but actually doing something about. So we're very pleased to welcome our member, a new member of the chamber, Stephanie Fortune. She is a South Florida native and president of Fortune Business Consulting, an independent payroll and HR outsourcing consultancy. Her consultancy helps within four core areas, included but not limited to payroll, human resources services, workers' compensation, and benefits administration. See, all topics small business owners can use. Her mission is to empower others. Not only is she able to do this with her business clients, she is also able to serve her community in the same capacity. In doing so, she holds board positions with the following organizations: the Greater Sunrise Chamber of Commerce, Handy, a nonprofit organization doing great work in the community, I might add, the Latin American Association of Insurance Agents, and I Am Becoming This Woman. She also serves as a member of the charity committee for the BLAAIA and the Tower Club Membership Council. We are pleased to welcome Stephanie Fortune. Welcome, Stephanie.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Shahua. Thank you for the opportunity. I am so excited to speak to our community, to our business owners, and share insights that will be a huge help in supporting and building an infrastructure for businesses. So I'm excited about the opportunity, and thank you again for having me.
Oh, no, absolutely. We're happy to have you. And I think, as you know, we've discussed, it's important here at the chamber to kind of highlight members who have the expertise and the knowledge, right, with regard to certain topics and subjects, so that our members, as well as the greater small business community here in Broward and beyond, can learn from our chamber members. So without further ado, Stephanie, I am going to turn it over to you.
Well, very awesome. Thank you once again. So today, as you touched on, we're going to be talking about key payroll, PEO, and HR considerations that truly all business owners, and especially small business owners, should know. These are going to be critical elements to essentially building the foundation to your organization and scaling that upwards. So we're going to touch on a few topics, and for our live viewers, I sprinkled in a few questions in there. And there's a $25 Amazon gift card for the person that responds with the most accurate answers via text message. So do pay attention for those questions. And as we're talking, so that way you could respond and get access to that $25 Amazon gift card. So I'm going to go ahead and get started so we can dive into some of this content. So like I mentioned, we're going to talk about payroll basics, HR considerations, the PEO industry and the value that it has for businesses. And we're going to go ahead and close it all out, just giving you guys a little summary of everything that we're going to be touching on today. So payroll, right? Oftentimes when someone starts an organization, that's one of the things that they know about. They've heard of it. Maybe they've even worked for an organization, but don't necessarily know what it's about, or even when to actually bring someone on payroll, or even for themselves as business owners, when they should be put on payroll. So we'll talk about what payroll actually is. So payroll is the business process of actually paying your employees. So again, running payroll consists of calculating employee earnings and factoring out the federal and state payroll taxes, right? So depending on which state you're in, certain taxes may or may not apply to certain businesses. And even based on your entity structure, there are also different tax factors that might apply and at different intervals throughout the year in which you'll need to pay certain taxes. Now, for employers, they can pay employees in a number of pay periods, right? So a number of intervals that can be weekly, biweekly, semi-monthly, or monthly. And what you'll traditionally see is payroll really done on a bi-weekly or a semi-monthly basis. And again, sometimes that's even dependent on the industry that you're actually in. Something else here in South Florida that I absolutely must touch on is the differences between 1099s and W-2s. So here in South Florida, so many people have folks with 1099s. They may not necessarily know what characteristics are required to meet to actually be a W-2 person. So we'll dive into that briefly, just so that we have an understanding of what it means to be a 1099 versus a W-2. So Form W-2 is actually a wage and tax statement that is issued to employees, right? So when an individual performs certain services that are controlled by you as a business owner, and you also determine, when work is done, provide certain resources, you provide a schedule, so on and so forth, that person would then be deemed or classified as a 1099 according to the IRS. So contrary to that is a W-2, sorry. So contrary to that is a 1099 NEC. Right? So when income is paid to a non-employee, such as an independent contractor, the IRS then at that point says that the worker is an independent contractor. So if the payer has a right to control the direct or only the results of the work, when it's done, when it's given out, then again, the person performing the work is more likely considered to be a 1099. So one good way to look at it is, all right, as a business owner, am I telling someone when to start or stop work? Am I telling them exactly how to do it? Am I providing them with the tools and resources to actually get the job done? Maybe are they wearing company t-shirts when they're actually performing the duties of that task? Are they coming into an office that maybe that we own as business owners? So some of these distinctions help to properly classify that person more so towards the W-2 side than towards the 1099 side. And in addition to that, when you're typically paying someone over $600 is when you're to issue a 99. You might want to get that on the front end because oftentimes it's tougher to follow up throughout the year if you were not able to issue that or have them complete that paperwork for the 1099 on the front end. And especially with W-2 employees, when you come to enrollment and you're bringing on that employee, of course, you want to make sure that's part of the enrollment package, that they complete that W-4 form so you can issue that at the end of the year as well. So now we're going to go into some of the payroll taxes. So again, there's a number of taxes that can get very confusing, very daunting. And again, depending on what state you're in, various intervals, various amounts throughout the year. So it can be very, very, very overwhelming. So kind of just take it one bite at a time, but certainly do extend grace to yourself because again, we know that it's complex, and there are experts, of course, that can help you in these matters. But payroll taxes are taxes that employers automatically deduct from their employees' paychecks and send that to the government, right? So let's say, again, you're remitting payment to your employees on a weekly basis, bi-weekly basis, or semi-monthly basis. What's happening is you're pulling certain taxes from the employee side in addition to the employer side, and you're kind of holding those funds until it's time to actually remit those payments to the government, right? So some common examples of payroll taxes are Social Security tax, Medicare, federal and state unemployment taxes, as well as, again, local taxes, depending on where you're located. So both employees as well as employers pay taxes. And again, that's based on the gross pay for each employee. So if you've seen certain check stubs, you've likely seen the gross amount and the net amount, and there's a variance between the two. That variance is what's paid in taxes. I do want to make sure I also touch on certain taxes that are only the responsibility of employers. So when you're looking at SUTA tax, that's going to be your state unemployment tax, or FUTA tax, that's your federal unemployment tax. These are taxes that's paid solely by the employer. And again, it's for unemployment purposes. So when you're looking at certain taxes, there are going to be some that's the responsibility in terms of payment for the employee. And then some, on the other hand, that's strictly the responsibility of the employer. Okay. So now we're going to go into some HR considerations. With COVID-19, with the last year and a half, 2 years, it's probably all a blur right now. But there's been so much that has happened in the HR landscape. truly from race relations to managing employees to remote employees and transitioning to a remote environment. But one of the core foundations to any organization is your handbook. And so that's one thing that I just want to ingrain into you guys right now, because it's so critical, right? A handbook is an extremely valuable communication that you're providing your employees when they come on board and work for your organization, right? So it kind of sets the standard and provides a guideline of information related to the organization, and that can touch on everything from its history, mission, value, policies and procedures, the whole nine. And even when we're talking about benefits, you're also sharing information about benefits, when open enrollment is, when employees actually qualify for certain benefits, so on and so forth. And so what this also does for an employer is also help to protect them against any kind of discrimination or any unfair treatment. Because again, it sets the guideline for how every single employee will be treated as they work for the organization. Regardless of the situation, they will always be treated the same. And on the employer side, you want to also make sure that when your employees are being onboarded into the company, that they're given this handbook, they're reading it, and they're signing that they have received it and understand it. Again, this sets the foundation, it sets a precedent for the organization, and make sure that there's clear communication between what the organization sets at its standards and what the employees interpret or understand from that communication. So this is one of the main and probably most important things to set a foundation when it comes to HR. And you also want to make sure that you have a safe space for your employees to come and ask questions, whether it be about benefits, whether it be about how to handle a situation, whether it be about requesting time off, working remotely, so on and so forth. Again, this kind of sets the tone, it sets the precedent for the organization and how things will be handled. So the long and the short of that is to make sure that you have handbooks and make sure that all of your employees have copies of them when they're onboarded into your organization. So now, what is a PEO and how does it actually help your business? Okay, so PEO stands for Professional Employer Organization, right? And what that is actually a comprehensive HR solutions for businesses. And that consists of payroll, workers' compensation, risk management, as well as benefits. You'll also see that it covers tax administration, regulatory compliance, and so much more. And that's because a PEO could be an extension of your back office, right? They're an extension of your organization. So they help support from everything from essentially hire to retire, right? They want to make sure that your payroll is managed. They want to make sure that as you scale and you're offering benefits, they're taking care of you there and you have access to big business benefits. And again, in the event that something happens, let's say someone is injured during the course of work, they're also there to compensate for that claim. Or maybe there's a death benefit, hopefully not, right? But it pays for a death benefit in the event that something happens during the course of work. Of course, again, benefits. You have access to big business benefits, even as a smaller organization. And that's something a lot of small businesses can absolutely take value in, especially in a time where finding personnel is extremely challenging. Let's put it that way. When it's extremely challenging to find talent, this is one way to kind of set yourself apart from your competitors, right? It's a way to kind of further add value to that employee and that employee experience when they come and work for your organization. So I'll give you some quick stats on the PEO industry. So at present, PEOs provide services to over 173,000 small and mid-sized businesses, employing 4 million people. There are approximately 487 PEOs in the US. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, okay, well, I know about ADP and Paychex, and those are the only two. Well, there's 485 more that you should know about. And that's actually part of the services that we offer in truly assessing and understanding the PEOs, their core strength and core competencies to determine whether or not they will be able to meet and exceed your needs as a business owner. The total employment represented by the PEO industry is roughly the same as a combined number of employees for Walmart, which is again only in the US, Amazon, Kroger, and Home Depot. So that's significant, right? That's a huge amount. And the PEO industry, again, has over 170 clients that represents 15.3% of all employers with anywhere between 10 to 99 employees. So that's, again, a big chunk, right? 15%. And oftentimes people might look at the industry and maybe assume, okay, well, that's that, I'm not ready to go that route. Yeah, my business is a small organization. It might not be a solution for me. But again, that's usually when there's more value, because you need that infrastructure. You don't necessarily have the big business benefits of 100 employees, 1,000 employees, and have the staff and personnel to support these areas. That's where these PEOs thrive and ultimately help you to thrive as an organization. So who uses a PEO? We kind of touched on that just a minute ago, but truly any business, right? Any business can find value in a PEO relationship. So you have clients ranging from accounting firms to doctors' offices, mechanics, retailers, plumbers, roofers, the whole gamut. And I actually have all of those clients, that we support. We also have clients that, range on average for 19 employees, but it can be anywhere between one employee literally to thousands. And again, we support employees within that range as well. And that's something that, again, business owners should take into account as they're looking to start their organization, set proper foundation and scale, because we want to make sure that we have the necessary tools, we have the necessary resources to set ourselves apart, but ultimately set us up for success. As a business owner, we want to make sure that we're putting ourselves in a position to succeed and make sure that we're continuing to offer value for our employees and our clients. So I do have a few questions. Again, I'm not certain if we have folks online right now, so I'll kind of speed through this process fairly quickly just to make sure that I don't miss anything. But we do have a few questions I just want to kind of go through really quickly. So what is a PEO was the initial question, and what does PEO stand for? So it has some options here: professional employee organizer. I know sometimes we feel that we might need that. Professional employer organization, and professional enchilada organizer. And that is also something else that we might need at times like right now. And so I'm gonna give a few seconds just to kind of see if we get some text messages coming in, just to see again if we could give out that $25 Amazon gift card. And if not, again, we'll go ahead and proceed to the next slide here. All right. So I absolutely need all three of these things right now, to be quite honest with you. All right, very cool, very cool. So it looks like we might have some answers coming in that might be a little bit delayed. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next slide for now. But as they come in, again, I'll go ahead and make sure that we do give that out on the back end. Okay. So the answer is professional employer organization. Number 2, it is not your professional enchilada organizer. All right, awesome. So we're going to go into 3 ways that businesses benefit from using a PEO. So number 1, they tend to grow 7 to 10 times faster than their counterparts that are outside of a PEO environment. And this point is critical. Actually, all these points are fairly critical, but this one even more so. Looking at last year, looking at the result of a lot of businesses and the impact truly to a lot of businesses as a result of COVID, a lot of businesses had to essentially close and never had the opportunity to open again. A lot of them had to scale down significantly and never had the proper infrastructure and resources to get where they needed to go. And a big part of that was, again, not having the necessary resources, not having the proper infrastructure. And when we look at the statistics in companies that were able to benefit from PPP, in addition to get the amount or exceed the amount that was requested, companies within a PEO environment actually fared substantially better than their counterparts that are outside of a PEO environment. And I stress that because this is primarily as a result of a lot of the documentation that was required, the time frame in which the necessary documents were needed, and how accurate the documents needed to be in order for that company to successfully get access to those funds. And so when we're talking about setting up our business for success, when we're talking about putting the proper infrastructure, it may not only support us, as business is actually going, but in times where things get tough. And again, we absolutely saw that this time around with PPP, in addition to, everything that happened as a result of COVID. The second item is employee turnover. And again, right now is a critical time because we know that we need talent. We know that we're trying to find ways to incentivize folks to come and work for our organization. And we want to keep the top talent that we do have because, again, turnover extremely high. And so what a PEO helps to do by providing the necessary resources, providing clarity and direction for a lot of employers, it helps to have that sense of things being just somewhat more organized, moving in a proper direction for the organization. And employees sense that. So when they feel that a company is not necessarily moving in the right direction, or they're not supported, or they may not necessarily have the right resources for them to grow and for them to thrive, they may decide to leave the organization altogether, find another company that they feel might be more of value to them or more in alignment with some of the things that they're looking to achieve as an organization. And then the third item is, again, they're 50% less likely to go out of business. And prior to COVID, this was the case. And absolutely, as a result to COVID, being able to have those financial resources was significant for a lot of businesses within a PEO environment. And so these are just three things that I want you guys to keep in mind when you consider and you think about PEOs, but truly when you just think about your organization, right? So the necessary tools, the necessary resources that we need as business owners, including myself, right? These PEOs are able to provide and help to support you grow and thrive. You got in business likely to do the things that you're passionate about and build wealth for your family. Probably not more on the administrative side and operating a business. And so they help you manage that while you focus on growing your organization. So now we're going to three things that impact workers' compensation, because this is also a significant one. When we're talking about insurance, and namely workers' comp in South Florida, especially when you have industries like trucking, electrical, HVAC, roofing, industries where these premiums tend to go very high if you have claims, if you're not properly managing your organization, or if you're not putting your employees in an environment that's conducive to their safety ultimately. So first thing, of course, is a workers' compensation class code. So that is the actual code that's used to identify the type of work that's being performed. So let's say I'm sitting in an office doing more administrative tasks, I'm likely to have an 8810 code. Now, if I'm on a rooftop and I'm a roofing company, a roofing contractor, and I'm installing roofs all over Broward County, then that's going to be a different code and a different rate that's associated with that, right? So again, the risk or exposure that exists for me as maybe a clerical person versus a roofer is substantially different. The likelihood and severity of a claim is much higher when you're that roofer as opposed to that clerical person, okay? Claims experience modifier. This is essentially your claims history. Have you had claims? How much did the carrier have to pay out as a result of your claims? And again, the interval in between them. So are you having a claim every single year? Is it happening every quarter? Is it the same group of employees that continue to have claims? So again, they want to look at how safe your organization is, and are you doing anything about the fact that you are having claims? Are you implementing safety? Do you have a safety manual? Do you have processes and procedures in place? Do you have things that are conducive to creating that safe working environment for your staff? And likely payroll. So again, payroll is something that directly impacts your premiums. So it's typically what's called the premium basis. So you have that payroll, and then you have that workers' compensation rate, and you look at the modifier to then determine what that premium is. So as you pay more in terms of payroll, you'll pay more in terms of premium, okay? So now we'll go into my company. So FBC, like I mentioned, we're dedicated independent payroll and PEO consultants. And ultimately, our goal is to help you identify the right solutions for your organization. And so just like no two businesses are exactly the same, no PEOs are. And so our 15-step process kind of helps you end-to-end identify the right PEO that will be a fit for your organization, help you scale and grow the right way, and also, again, provide the resources and infrastructure that you need to truly focus on your business and growing your organization. Again, you've likely got into business to focus on things that matter to you, things that you enjoy and things that you're passionate about. So we want to give you back that time to do just that. And so for me, I take this very personal. Being first generation Haitian American here, one of 13, like I live and breathe empowerment, right? So my life's mission truly is to empower others. And in doing that, I'm a very dedicated person, very tenacious person, and have insane grit. And these are things that I extend to my clients when I work with them. And a lot of them see that. And, even right now I'm working with a client that we're trying to get something turned around in 24 hours for him. Because it's something that he wasn't able to necessarily get on his own. So we're working, over clocking around. Just the weekend before last, we had an enrollment for an employee, a client company as well, Saturday morning at 7:00. So these are things that we do because we actually care, right? We want to provide resources and support to our business clients, and that's ultimately the goal. So with each and every client, we look to empower, we look to provide certain resources. And some of the clients that we serve, but again, in addition to what the industry can serve, range from general contractors to IT companies, HVAC companies, nonprofits, and again, roofing companies. And these are just some example of some of the things that they've said. So being able to save $12,000 in overall workers' compensation expenses, being able to actually provide solutions to a company that was a 2-person roofing company, which it was a very hard industry with just 2 employees, and it was a startup. So those are 3 things that go against you when it comes to workers' comp, but we were able to find a solution to put in place for them. And then a general contractor, 2.7 million, we were able to support them as well. So we can certainly extend the gamut in terms of the clientele that we serve and how we serve them. And so again, we want to work with you to ultimately help your clients, help your industry, help your business thrive, place the right resources and infrastructure in place to find something that helps you grow, help you scale, bringing in the right talent to best support your client base. Now we're going to go into another quick question for you. Hopefully we have some folks on here that we could get some answers for. I'll actually bring up my phone again. So what are 2 things, so we just talked about this, what are 2 things that impact workers' compensation premiums? So what are 2 things that will impact how much you pay in workers' compensation? So number 1, payroll and workers' compensation class code rate. 2, age of the business and business owner. Number 3, claims history modifier and annual revenue. So I will keep this line open for a few seconds here to see if we get some answers coming in for this question. All right, let me check my phone here, see what we have coming in. All right, like I said, if the answers come in on the back end, what I will do is follow up with those folks, and I'll also be able to pay that out on the back end as well. All right, so we got 1 answer. Last phone number, 2815. Number 1, payroll and workers' compensation class code rate. That is correct. So do me a favor, text me your name as well, so that way I can follow up with you. So we got a winner here. All right, so the answer is number 1, payroll and workers' compensation class code rate. These are 2 things that impact your workers' compensation premium, okay? So I'm not actually able to see you guys, but I did want to know, and I was curious to know who's worked with a PEO before, what the experience was like, and just to kind of gauge, the level of understanding that we have here. But this is an industry and this is a space that helps to provide solutions to business owners and the challenges that they face on a day-to-day to truly help them achieve their strategic goals, truly help them to do the things that they enjoy, things that they're passionate about, and ultimately help them thrive. So we want to be your agency partner. We want to help you grow as an organization. We want to help you focus on your business, right? So we want to make sure that that's our goal and that's our focus. And so, we thank you for your time. We thank you for taking the time to be here with us and be present with us. And of course, if you have questions, do put them in the chat. I did leave my contact information here, so I have both my phone number as well as the email address. And so you can certainly schedule a 20-minute chat with me at no cost, no anything, no obligation. So that way we can kind of talk about your circumstance, or even just, again, offer more insights and more information to help you gain more clarity in how to navigate the landscape in this current business world, because it's absolutely changed as a result of COVID, and it's unlikely to go back to the way that it was. So if we can be a resource, if we could offer any more value, certainly do see us as that. That is our mission here, to empower. So again, Stephanie Fortune with Fortune Business Consulting. Thank you guys so very much for the opportunity. And thank you guys so very much for your time.
All right. Thank you, Stephanie. That was wonderful.
Yeah.
You were concise, but that was packed with a lot of useful information. No, it was, because you touched on a lot of topics that small business owners sometimes look at the concepts a bit confused or whatever. And,
Yes.
when you're in the middle of filling out paperwork or needing to do something quick, that's when you're trying to figure out what
Correct.
1099 and what is a true
Right.
I need workers' compensation. I got a contract. How do I do this?
Exactly.
And,
exactly.
You're kind of in the middle of the rush, and you only get to it because at that moment it's like, gotta have it. It's necessary.
Correct. Yeah.
So I like this approach. It's like, let me give you the information, but let me tell you, let me let you understand what it is. So you kind of do it beforehand. Don't get
Yes.
caught in a situation where you're in a crunch. I'm sure you've seen those situations.
Oh, we're in it right now, honey. I
24
have, like I
hours.
said, two folks that, we're working on something to 24 hours. And in one case,
Yeah.
they're holding several thousands of dollars in payment for a contract. And so he is very much so motivated now to find a solution. But again, we want to be proactive about some of these things because it helps you, as a business owner, it helps you kind of plan, even from a cash flow perspective. It also helps you kind of know and forecast, certain expenses, so on and so forth. So it's certainly something that you rather be proactive than reactive about, for certain.
Right. I wanted to highlight that point. And then the next point that, I try to make with our chamber members, I get it, when you're starting a business and, it's a small business, we're not, we haven't been gifted $1 million from parents and such things, the statistics show with regard to small business owners. So, you have a pot of money and you're trying to start this business and, you're being frugal, but there's an importance there to understand that, your trade, what you're supposed to do with regard to your skill set, but sometimes you need that help getting the back house, the administrative side of your business in order, because, I think as people learn and grow in their business, that's just as important. Because without some of those things being in place, you can't do what you love to do.
Correct. And it's so critical that you said that, because I see that in two ways, right? So on the one hand, you are being a little bit more frugal, you have a set of resources that you're pulling from, right? That means you have to be even more conscious of where that money is going, because you need it to last, right? So you want to make the right investments. And this is something that will be the right investment. It helps you make further right decisions in building that out for your organization. And again, it's like there's so much exposure there, so much risk there. We need to remind business owners that if this is your livelihood, if this is your bread and butter, that needs to be protected.
Yes.
So when we talk about insurance, when we talk about, again, race relations, when we're talking about a claim on the job, one accident could wipe out your organization. One claim, one sexual harassment lawsuit can wipe out your organization. So that small pack of funds that we're pulling from, we need to make sure it's protected. And so those are two things that, even from what you're just saying, just kind of came to mind immediately, because I do know that. And I bootstrap my organization, but I was also very aware that, okay, these funds that I'm pulling from is what I have. So I need to make sure that this lasts, and I invested in the right places to help grow and scale this, because it absolutely matters. It absolutely matters.
It does. No, I love that. And I thank you for joining us and being our second installation in this series. I know sometimes people want the sexy and trendy topics, but I think what we try to do here, I know what we try to do here is to give you the meat of what will allow your business to thrive, the meat of what you need to know, the knowledge you need to have to make sure you have a strong foundation for your business, which will make it successful. So I thank you, Stephanie, for joining us here tonight.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, everyone. I am so happy. We had a great session tonight. Stephanie was wonderful as expected. And I know that you will leave here today after this session a little bit smarter. And I think the point in all of it is, if you still have questions, which you should, if this is unfamiliar territory for you, that you should reach out and contact Stephanie. I advocate that. You don't want to mess up and not have something you need to have, or do something and do it the wrong way. Right. And then that kind of messes you up in another, put you in a different situation. But we need to make sure, small business owners, that we're working with the professionals that will help protect our business. And that's the whole point of this series this fall. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you the next time. We have our third and last installment in November. Please make sure you check out our online calendar. We have all our installments there. Check out our YouTube channel. All of our installments for this Back to Business fall session that we've done, they're going to be housed on our YouTube channel, as well as you'll find some other sessions that we've done and some other informative kind of videos and things that I've found other organizations and agencies have done that would be beneficial to you. So see you next time for our last and third installment in our fall series in November. Thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful night, everyone.